The marine world testimony. In my relationship with the mermaid, we had reached a stage where she said to me, "Joseph, you now need a throne and crown in our kingdom." She said, "You need to be crowned and consecrated as merman in the Aquarius kingdom. This will be done when our marriage is celebrated in the underwater." We know that many of our musicians call themselves merman. It's because they have married mermaid and they have been crowned and enthroned as merman underwater. But there is a gruesome process that a man have to go through in order to acquire the power of merman and become one. The mermaid said to me, "Joseph, in order to celebrate our marriage my father demanded that you offer 25 women in human sacrifice, so that you can be enthroned and crowned in the marine world, then you will acquire the power of a merman." The mermaid said to me, "Joseph, there will be money in your cushion in the morning. You will take that money and you will sleep with women." I asked the mermaid, "How can I sleep with 25 women in one day?" The mermaid said, "Don't worry, we will give you strength to do it, but we need the blood of these 25 women in order to write the name of Satan during the ceremony of your consecration and enthronement as merman during our marriage in the underwater world." The mermaid said to me, "For you to be able to sleep with 25 women in one day you will need strength. Therefore I am sending you to 3 of our religion in your country, so that they can provide you tools for your assignment." Then she sent me to the Roman Catholic. When I arrived at the local parish, the priest said to me, "Joseph, I was informed about your arrival by the princess, and I was waiting for you." Then the priest gave me a rosary. The priest said to me, "The rosary will vibrate to indicate to you that the lady around you is the one targeted for human sacrifice." Then the siren sent me to the mosque. She made it known to me that Allah is a collaborator of Lucifer. When I arrived at the mosque the imam said, "Joseph, I was informed about your coming by the princess. You are welcomed." Then he gave me a series of Islamic prayer called dua. He said to me, "Every time you killed a victim, she will die with your picture in her mind. Her blood will be on your hand, considering that the victim will see your face when you have committed that crime against her. Her soul will quote your name just like Abel was quoting the name of his brother Cain. That is why you must recite these prayers in order to protect yourself against the revenge of the spirit of the victim." The purpose of the Islamic prayer was to erase my picture in the mind of the victim, so that he will not follow me in order to avenge himself. Then the siren sent me to the Kimbaptism church, an heretic religion, where I got 2 handkerchiefs, a green and white handkerchief. In order to become a merman I had to sleep with 25 women. During sexual intercourse my saliva was turned to a venom of a serpent, which was paralyzing the victim. In the meantime the mermaid was hiding in the bathroom. She was coming out of the bathroom the moment the victim is paralyzed in order to finish her. She was actually introducing her hand in the forehead of the victim, in order to pull out the star which is the destiny and the provision of God for the person. I remember before starting this mission I was told by the siren, "Jose, you will not just sleep with any woman, but you will sleep with women who fit the profile. These are women who have things connecting them with us. There are people who come from family that have spiritual baggage, they have generational covenant and curse. Their ancestors had opened door thanks to tradition and customs." The mermaid made it known to me that there are people who are easy target due to their origin, tradition and genealogic tree. These people are connected to their ancestors who are in tradition, custom and covenant that are gateway for the enemy. People should disconnect themselves from family tradition, family baggage, family genetic and spiritual inheritance. In the morning of that day there was money at my bedside as usual. I was supposed to spend all that money on the same day. On that day I was supposed to move from one borough to another, so I rented a taxi's driver for all day. Considering that I did not want to be caught by the authority, I deployed the spirit of death to follow to this driver, and to kill him when my assignment was over. As I was going from one woman to another the driver thought that I was a pervert, but this was occultism not sexual perversion. In this process I was going after women who have opened door and had spiritual baggage. I was taking them to the hotel. Let me remind that I was a deadly marine kingdom agent. I mean my genital organ was a snake and my saliva was a venom of a serpent. It was while I was kissing with women that they were paralyzed by my saliva which had become a venom of a serpent. The moment they were paralyzed in coma, My wife, the mermaid that was hiding in the toilet, was coming out. She was inserting her hand in the forehead of the victim, in order to remove the star of the victim and finish him off. When I started this operation with the mermaid, we had to go after women whose names start by S. Actually, the blood of the victim was supposed to be used in order to write the name of Satan in the crowning ceremony underwater, and while we were moving in the city, the rosary given to me by the Roman Catholic priest was vibrating in order to signal to me the next victim in the proximity. Later we began the work of destruction in the city. After destroying women whose initials started with S, we moved to women whose initials start with A, and then we moved to women whose names start with T, then A, and N. When it was 7 p.m. I had reached the 21st woman and I was tired. Quickly I went back home in order to drink water and refresh myself. I did not know that the devil had tricked me, and that he had actually planned everything that would happen in our place. When I arrived home I was so tired that I asked my sister water to drink. It was while I was drinking water that the Catholic rosary began to vibrate in order to indicate to me that my sister was the next target to be executed. I could not believe and accept what was happening, so I went out of the compound in order to check whether there was another woman outside, but there was none. When the devil works with you, he will give you the impression that you and your family are spared, but before you know it you will realize that you and your family were the target right from the beginning. Later, when I came to Christ, I confessed to the family that I was the one who sacrificed my sister. I slept with her and she was paralyzed, and the siren killed her. It was a disaster in the family, but in the end they forgave me. I remember when I realized that I had to sleep with my own sister and killed her, I began to debate and complain to the siren. I said to her, "How could you do this to me? She is my own sister." I began to argue and quarrel with the mermaid. However, the mermaid was cold-blooded. She said, "Joseph, if you fail to kill your sister, you are the one who will die at midnight. Instead of you complaining about it, you should just get on with it. Time is running out." On that day I slept with my own sister and she died. I had to do it in order to save my own skin. I was full of anger and shame. In the kingdom of Lucifer, time is time. When you break the law, there are consequences and there is no negotiation with them. My sister was the 23rd victim. After the death of my sister, I was in the street around the car when suddenly the rosary began to vibrate again. When I checked around I could not see anyone, but the mermaid who was in the car said, "Joseph, check very well, there is a lady around." When I checked around, I saw a crazy woman sleeping in the bin. I was stunned and I could not believe it. I felt betrayed by the mermaid. I began to quarrel with the mermaid about this. The driver noticed that I was talking to someone, but I pretended that I was talking to myself. Yet I was debating the mermaid. But this is what the devil requires from his servants. Some of them have to sleep with corpse, mad women and their parent. There is a reason why the mermaid and the devil wanted me to sleep with a mad person. In the Bible there is a mention of a mad person in the cemetery who had legions of demons in her body. I realized that I had to sleep with this mad lady so that legion of demons in her body can enter and indwell in me. The devil wanted these legion of demons to dwell in me so that they can change my personality. They were supposed to make me heartless, ruthless and gruesome, and I was changed after sleeping with this mad lady. Actually, a legion is made up of thousands of demons. Many political leaders are required by the devil to sleep with mad people, so that they can be indwelled by legion of demons inhabiting the body of these mad people. These legion of demons are supposed to make them ruthless and heartless. That is why occultists find it hard to be charitable, because they go through a lot. Sometimes they would not give their family their money, in order to spare them from the implication of blood money. After that painful experience or sleeping with that mad lady, I met the 25th, which was the last woman in a popular bar in which there were a lot of prostitute. I always say that prostitute are subconscious witches because they are exposed to all kind of people. Many occultists come to prostitute when they need human sacrifice. It was almost midnight and I took that lady in the hotel. While we were in the car heading to the hotel, the lady began to tell me about her mother who go to church and serve God. She said, "My mother surprised us with her commitment to God. She spent all her money in the church with these corrupt pastors. That is why we are in war with her." While I was listening to this lady, I understood that her mother was a Christian who was committed and was fighting for her daughters in prayers and in giving. but this meant nothing for me. When we arrive in the hotel, this lady opened her bag, which was her mother's. She wanted to get a preservative. It was when she was looking for the preservative that she saw her mother Bible, and an envelope of a contribution of the church building. Immediately her mind changed. She said, I must go back to return the Bible and the envelope to my mother. I said, no way, it is already midnight and she was supposed to be the last lady to die. In case I failed, I would die in her place, so I proposed to increase her fee, but she refused. Again I proposed to increase the fee tenfold, but she refused again. I said to myself, I have no choice but to rape her. I did not know that God was fighting for the life of this prostitute. Because of her mother's financial commitment in the Chukhan prayer, as time was running out, I grabbed the girl in order to rape her, but she got even stronger. Then she began to shout for help. As a result, hotel workers came. They knocked on the door. I tried to corrupt them, but they refused the money. As a result, the lady escaped. The lady was saved by the prayer and financial commitment of her mother, who never ceased to declare that her daughter would serve God. It was midnight, and I was there in that hotel. I was expecting the worst, and I knew that I would die for failing in my obligation. In the dark world, when you break the rules, you will face punishment. They are not like the merciful Jesus Christ. I offered them 24 people instead of 25, yet this was a failure, because I had to offer 25 people or die. While I was waiting for death, I began to take drug and drink alcohol, because I knew that death was on the way. I wanted to be deeply on drugs so that death will take me in that state. However, as much as I tried to be high and drunk, I realized that it was not working. There are moments where you will not escape the gravity of your issue with drunkardness and drug. I was trying to sleep when I felt cold. When I opened my eyes, suddenly I saw my wife the mermaid entering the hotel room where I was. When she arrived, she was extremely angry, and she was accompanied by 2 men who had fishtail. These were mermen. Immediately the mermaid said to me, Joseph, give me my stuff. I replied, what should I give you? I gave you 24 people instead of 25, but you want to kill me. Just because I failed to give you 1 person, you want to punish me. The mermaid said to me, this is not the way we work. When we ask you 25, you are supposed to give us 25. You have failed. When I realized that they were decisive and determined, I said to the mermaid, you have already destroyed my life. Now you have brought these mermen to destroy me. I began to beg the mermaid for mercy. The mermaid said, Joseph, give me the Roman Catholic rosary. Give me the Islamic prayer and the handkerchief that I gave you. When I gave the mermaid these items, she moved in the corner of the room, where she was discussing and debating with the 2 half-fishmen. I thought they were talking about killing me. Then the mermaid said to me, Joseph, you have 1 more chance of survival. You have to give us your blood. I mean a member of your family. Immediately the mermaid made a gesture. As a result, a magic mirror appeared before us. Then she asked me to summon my father to appear in the mirror. I called the name of my father so that he would appear in the mirror so that we can sacrifice him. Later on I saw blood appearing on the magic mirror. The siren asked me to stop. She said, your father is in covenant with us, therefore we will not kill him. Actually, my father was closer to the president. He was in the presidential circle that was made up of occultists. Then the mermaid asked me to summon my mother on the magic mirror so that we can kill her. Straight away I started summoning my mother to appear on the mirror. I was calling her name and insisting, when suddenly something happened. While I was calling my mother, flame of fire emerged from the magic mirror. Instead of burning me, I saw this flame of fire pursuing the mermaid and the 2 mermen. At that moment I heard these half-fish entities screaming in terror. We did not know that my mother was a born-again Christian. We suffer a counterattack, but the Lord spared me from the flame of fire. When these half-fish entities recovered from the effect of the flame of fire, the mermaid asked me to stop calling the name of my mother, who was a born-again Christian. Many believers are monitored through magic mirror and screen by witches and wizards who can do nothing against them. In order to reach Christian, witches apply history of offense and irritation. They would try to cause believer to be angry and upset so that the latter would open the door for them to enter. Then the mermaid asked me, Joseph, you have a child, right? You had a son with a lady and no one in your family know about that son. You gonna kill him for us? Immediately I began to summon my child to appear on the magic mirror. When my son appeared in the mirror, the mermaid gave me the ancient knife that had ancient writing on the handle, and she asked me to stab the child to death. I had no choice. In order to stay alive, I had to stab my own son to death. The moment I stabbed him to death, he began to tremble and then he went into coma. The mother was panicking. Let me tell you that most of sudden death and cardiac arrest are demonic and witchcraft attack. With prayer you can save the victim. But if you take him to the hospital you will lose him. Considering that my ex-girlfriend was an unbeliever, she rushed to the hospital. As a result the boy died. When the boy died I saw the mermaid and the mermen clapping for me. They said to me, "You are brave, you have succeeded." Yet I was crying and mourning for my child. Before leaving me the mermaid said, "As you have overcome you must begin to prepare yourself, because we are going to come back next Wednesday at 12, and we will transport you in our civilization for consecration ceremony. You will become a merman and you will receive power." Many of our musicians are mermen and they are married to mermaid. This is the process that they have to go through in order to become merman. Few days later in that very week, my mother, who was a born-again Christian, had a dream. Actually she saw me in a dream in which I was holding an ancient knife that was handed to me by the mermaid. This was the very knife given to me by the mermaid when I stabbed to death my son. This was an ancient knife that have inscription similar to Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Marine Kingdom is a pre-Adamic and prehistoric civilization. My mother dreamed that I was holding this ancient knife and I was pursuing everybody in the family in order to stab them. Everybody in the family were running and escaping from me. My mother testified that when she saw me pursuing the family she noticed that I had blood everywhere in my body, and in that dream she was trying to shield the whole family from me. While she was protecting the family she bumped onto something and she fell on the ground. I was about to stab her in that dream when she woke up. God speak one way or another. My mother was not happy about this dream. My mother was a financial contributor in her church. When she came to Christ she swore to serve God with her money. She was a businesswoman. When she had that dream, straight away she went to see men of God, and she invited them to come and pray for the house and the whole family. Men of God came on Sunday of that very week and they prayed for the house and the family. But it was when men of God were about to leave that something happened. Actually my mother heard the voice of the Holy Spirit telling her to sow a seed. My mother decided to sow a seed of $1,700. I remember in that period you could buy a house with that money. When my mother sowed that money men of God prayed for her again. After prayer it was when these men of God were leaving my mother's place that one of them heard the voice of the Lord talking to him. The Lord said to him, "I have accepted my servant's seed, therefore, go and tell her to ask me anything she wants and I will give it to her." These men of God went back to my mother and they said to her, "Thus say the Lord, I have accepted your offering, therefore ask me anything you want, I will give it to you." The issue is that my mother was a businesswoman. She had houses, cars and money, therefore she asked the Lord my soul. She really wanted me to come to Christ. After praying for my mother and my soul, men of God were about to leave. Actually they were on their way out of my mother's place, when suddenly they heard the voice of Jesus Christ again. They went back to my mother and they said to my mother, "Thus say the Lord, your son will come to visit you on Wednesday, and this is what you will do when he come to visit. You will make sure that he does not leave you before 12. You must prevent him from leaving your place before 12. Yet my wife the mermaid was supposed to come to get me on Wednesday at 12, so that she would transport me to the Marine Kingdom for consecration as merman. I was supposed to become a merman so that I can marry this mermaid." These men of God instructed my mother to keep these words of the Lord secret. When that Wednesday arrived I was with the mermaid in the hotel where we were leaving. In the morning of that day she said to me, "I am traveling beneath the water, but I am coming back to take you at 11:55 for our marriage in our kingdom." It was right after the departure of the mermaid to the marine civilization that I heard like a voice telling me to visit my mother. I never heard such voice of authority in my life again, and there was an urge in me to visit my mother. I did not know that my mother bought a huge padlock in order to stop me from leaving her place before 12 as instructed by the Holy Spirit. Actually my relationship with my mother was not God. One day I was walking in the city with my wife the mermaid, who was extremely beautiful. We were walking in the street when we met my mother, but I noticed that my mother did not like her when she saw her. My mother was an authentic born-again Christian and she was full of the Holy Spirit. When she saw my wife, she sensed in her spirit that the lady was not an ordinary human being. The meeting of my mother and the mermaid was the meeting of two opposing power and vibration. My mother could not bear her, she could not bear my mother either. My mother had the ability to see vision and dream, and she knew that I was in occultism. Therefore there was a conflict between her and me. That is why on that Wednesday I was surprised by the way my mother welcomed me. I noticed that she was singing song of praise all the time. As time was moving, I saw my mother closing the main gate of the compound with a huge padlock. She said to me, "Joseph, Jesus told me not to let you go before 12. Immediately I opposed her, and we began to argue. When it was 11 a.m. I became desperate. My appointment with the mermaid was at 11:45. As time was moving, I got angry and I began to insult my mother so that she would be upset and disappointed. Hoping that she will let me go, I used abusive language in order to shock her so that she will open the gate. But she remained stubborn. When I was about to force the gate, my mother grabbed me with his two hands in order to stop me from leaving. I tried to beat her hand so that she would let go. But even today I have never understand because she never reacted to my effort, as if she was feeling nothing. I tried hard to release myself from my mother, but my efforts were in vain. It was when we reached 12 o'clock that my mother released my hand as she was instructed by men of God. I knew that I had missed the appointment with the siren and there will be punishment. Actually, my enthronement and crowning as merman was supposed to be attended by many dignitary, prince and queen of the Aquarius world. They are many dynasty, royal family, queen that rules many clan and race of siren, mermaid and hybrid creatures beneath the ocean. When I realized that I missed the enthronement and consecration ceremony in the marine world, I began to cry. In order to become a merman, I was supposed to be consecrated and receive power. That way I could marry the mermaid. I said to my mother, "Mother, you don't know what you have done to me. You have killed me." She replied to me, "My son, I have just saved you." I was so angry that I went out. I took a huge stone and I dropped it on my mother's car and the glass was broken. I was now supposed to go back to the hotel to meet the siren, but I was fearing the worst. I knew that it was unlikely that I would survive. Death was likely. People can come to church late, but in the kingdom of darkness, failure to keep the rule result in punishment. I took a taxi back to the hotel where I was living with the mermaid. When I reached the hotel, I was full of fear. I did not know whether I come out alive. I opened the door, I got inside. Immediately I saw my wife the mermaid sitting on the bed. She was furious and naked. Strangely, I saw that she had injury all over her body. She asked me, "Joseph, do you see what your mother has done to me?" I was surprised to hear her talking about my mother. I said, "I have left my mother in her place." Beloved, the host of heaven wage war constantly against the power of darkness in our behalf as a result of our prayer. I remember when I left mother, she said to me, "Fear not, no one will harm you." I was surprised to see her talking like this, because I subjected her to incredible verbal abuse. Then the mermaid said to me, "Joseph, when it was time to travel underwater, we came to get you so that we can travel beneath to the Aquarius kingdom for the official marriage ceremony as agreed. The power and the king of the world beneath the sea were waiting for us, but when we arrived in the hotel we could not see you, so we went to your mother's place, and when we entered we saw your mother stopping you from leaving her place, but it was when your mother was singing song of praise and worship that the heaven opened. As a result, 3 celestial angels landed in her compound, and they were holding swords. And every time we were trying to separate you from your mother, these angels were cutting us with their swords. Now look how I'm injured all over my body. We tried to fight to get you away from your mother, but these angels kept cutting us with their swords." As the mermaid was talking to me, I tried to sit on the bed by her side. Suddenly she shouted to me and said, "Joseph, stand up." I stood up and I was trembling. Then the mermaid hit the wall of the hotel room. As a result, a magic mirror appeared. She said to me, "Joseph, I cannot see you in the magic mirror anymore. I don't know where your mother has placed you. You have become invisible in our instrument." Usually when the siren is angry, Fire always come out of her mouth when she speak, but I had the impression that she was weakened by the encounter with the angel of the Lord. She seems as weak as a natural woman. She searched for me in the mirror but she could not find me. She introduced her head in the mirror but she could not find me. She said to me, "Joseph, I am finished. You have put me in trouble and in danger, and I don't know what to do." Immediately, I remember the word of my mother who said, "They will not see you and they will not harm you." Then I saw the mermaid going to the bathroom. I tried to follow her and see what she was doing in the bathroom. When I opened the door, I saw that there was no bathroom anymore. However, I saw the mermaid washing in a huge river. In fact, the bathroom was transformed into a huge river, in which the mermaid was washing. I was wondering how could a bathroom become a river. I saw all kinds of soap, all kind of lotion and all kind of makeup product. I remember one day my lotion was finished. The only lotion available was that of my wife, the mermaid. On that day I took one of her lotion and I applied it, but when I went out in the street I noticed that ladies were watching and following me. I could not understand what was happening to me. Ladies were following me. When my uncle saw women following me he was stunned. Actually the mermaid was applying these lotion in order to renew her beauty. After 3 hours my normal appearance came back and these lady left me. I remember one day I saw the mermaid having sexual intercourse with 7 men. Later she told me that this increased her power. When a man has the tendency to sleep with many women, this is not about pleasure but power. I said I was observing the mermaid washing in the bathroom that was turned to a river. When she saw that I was watching her she got furious and I closed the door. When it was 6 p.m. I said to her, "I am going out to a nightclub." She said, "I am coming with you, but your mother had destroyed me." I said, "You have more power than her. How could she destroy you?" She said to me, "Joseph, I am a marine spirit. I was given this physical body so that I can be your wife and live with you on the surface of the earth, but your mother has neutralized my power. My mission in your life is compromise. There is nothing I can do now. Things are no longer in my hand. As we are going to the nightclub, if you see people in red, be careful, they are my father agents. They have been instructed to kill you." When we went to the nightclub, the siren stayed in the car and I got inside, and while I was drinking in this nightclub I saw 4 people dressed in red. They were drinking but they were avoiding to look at me, but when I wanted to go to the toilet they stood up in order to follow me. Immediately I gave up going to the toilet. Then I saw 4 extremely beautiful ladies. They were in red. I went out of this place to avoid danger. In the street I saw people in red again. Later the mermaid asked me to follow her in the toilet, because we had to part way, and she was supposed to return to the marine world. When I joined her in the toilet, she got many stuff out of her bag. These were mirror, lotion and a bottle containing a fish and many stuff. I told you about the effect of her lotion. When I applied it on my body by accident, women were following me in the street. Let me inform you that musical celebrity apply this lotion in order to attract women to them. We were in the toilet when I saw the mermaid throwing many of his stuff in it. Then she took the bottle containing the fish and she said to me, "Joseph, you see this fish? If only you had managed to become a merman, if only we succeeded to get married in an official ceremony, I would have been able to give birth to my kind on the surface. I would have swallowed this fish. As a result, I would have become pregnant, and I would have given birth to a physical mermaid on the surface of the earth. That way I would have had a baby of my kind by my side as child in your world. We would have been 2 mermaid on the surface of the earth living with you as a family." Then I saw the mermaid opening the bottle containing the fish. I told you how I tried to break that bottle with a hammer and how even the hammer could not break that bottle because it is not of this world, but I observed how the mermaid broke the bottle without effort. At that moment, I saw the fish that was inside the bottle turning to an extremely beautiful young girl. That was a mermaid. Her upper part was human but her lower part was a fish. Then I saw a huge portal in the toilet, and inside this portal was a huge ocean. I was observing the ocean, when suddenly I saw a whirlpool on the ocean that was leading beneath the oceanic water. I watched with my eyes the 2 mermaids entering the portal, and they were transported beneath the ocean by the whirlpool, and this was my separation with the mermaid. When I went out of the toilet I saw more people that were red. It was 3 a.m. and there was no place to run. The street was full of people dressed in red. Suddenly, I saw a car that came from nowhere. The driver was a Westerner, who drove towards me and opened the door for me. I don't know whether this was Jesus Christ or an angel, but it was surely God's intervention. The man instructed me to enter and to stay inside until dawn. When this man said the word dawn, immediately I remember the meeting at the cemetery that was interrupted by the announcement of the arrival of dawn, which stopped the activity of darkness. It is written that men have preferred darkness over light. After entering the car, I saw these agents of the marine kingdom surrounding the car, but they could not open the door. They were yelling to me to get out, but the man said to me, "If you want to stay alive, stay inside the car." As I remained inside the car, these agents of darkness began to create images of illusion. In order to get me out of the car, they create like an hologram of my former wife. In order to get me out of the car, I knew that this was manipulation. They created false images of things that I like. In order to get me out, these were trick, illusion and manipulation. When it was dawn, I saw these agents of the marine kingdom disappearing one after the other. They were vaporizing in the air. When it was dawn, this man gave me money to buy a Bible. When I went out, I ran away. When I turned around, I could not see the car anymore. When I went to see my mother, she told me to see men of God that I used to ridiculed and brutalized. Later I went to a nightclub. When my friend heard my story, they advised me to see men of God. When men of God came to my place, they took all the mystical instrument, including my photos with the mermaid, but I noticed that the mermaid disappeared on every photos we took. It was clear that an individual was absent from all these pictures. Then men of God prayed for me. Yet I was not really committed to the Lord. I went back in my life of bars and drinking in the nightclub where I was working previously. Later on I move out of the capital. Then I learn about the death of my mother. When I returned to the capital to visit the tomb of my mother, I began to notice ticks all over my body. Then I noticed that every single woman who slept with me died from HIV/AIDS. I came to realize that the siren punished me with a mystical HIV/AIDS when we separated. Actually, when I entered in a marital relationship with the mermaid, she told me that she had a plan A and a plan B. The plan A was that I was supposed to become a merman and married her, but in case I failed, she would return to the marine world and I will be struck with HIV/AIDS. This was a mystical sickness, yet it was infectious, quickly. I thought you would become a respected soldier, but this is what you have become. He spat on me and went away. There came a time the clothes I was wearing was attaching to my skin and tearing the skin. I was tired and ashamed. I thought about suicide. One day I watched myself in the mirror, but I could not accept what I have become. On that day I went on to buy different medication in order to combine them with battery and kill myself. But the Lord stopped me from drinking the glass of medication combined with battery in a miraculous way. Later I got a visit from my brother who was a Christian. He asked me to repeat the prayer of the sinner. I laughed in me because I did not believe. Then a sister who came out of 21 days of prayer came to visit me. When she saw me, she cried over my condition. Then she said to me, "The Lord told me you will become his servant. You will serve him." Few days later, I began to feel like I was no longer in my body. I had the impression that I was away from my body somewhere where people were waiting for me in order to take me to a place that is not good. It's as if I had to answer an appointment. Then one day, I saw a worm coming out of my body. It was on that day that I decided to kill myself. I decided to do it at 3 a.m. I felt compelled to kill myself. I wrote a letter informing everybody that the family lodging me has nothing to do with it. When it was night, I saw a mermaid and marine spirit landing in the room where I was laying. They said to me, "Joseph, just look at what you have become. This is embarrassing. Just take this knife and kill yourself, and you will be fine." At that very moment I saw a knife by my side. I don't know where it came from since I did not put it there. I was hearing powerful voice urging me to kill myself with the knife. The water spirit kept talking to me. They said, "Master Joseph, look at what you have become. This is unacceptable. You have to put an end to this. You cannot continue to live in this condition. You are such a great man. You cannot accept this humiliation. Just take this knife and put an end to it." At that moment I felt a fresh wind entering the room where I was laying. There was a presence in that wind. A voice spoke in that wind instructing me to recite the prayer of the sinner that my brother suggested to me. At that moment a marine spirit protested and said to me, "No, Joseph, do not listen to him. Just look at your condition. This is humiliating. Take that knife and end all this." I was hearing opposing voices. One voice was asking me to confess my sin, and another voice was urging me to end my life. Later I rose from the boxes where I was sleeping, and I recited the sinner prayer that my brother showed me. I did it lightly without expecting anything. After reciting this prayer, I said, "Lord, if you are God, heal me from this sickness." I tried to test God, to see if he can intervene immediately, but I saw nothing. There was no reaction. I said, "This confirmed my suspicion that there is no God." Later I continue my preparation for suicide. I put together the wire and the last letter. I was there waiting for 3 a.m. in order to kill myself, but while I was waiting for the time I slumber, immediately I began to see the spiritual reality that I was facing, including the tussle and the battle for my soul that was taking place in the unseen realm. I saw myself in a really deep pit, a place of complete darkness. I was in the depth of the pit. I was looking up to the top of the pit. Suddenly I saw an angel of darkness descending with speed and violence. He held a sword that he lifted up. This angel was descending with the intent of striking me with his sword of death. When this angel of death was descending, he shouted, "Today is the day of death. Today is the day of vengeance. Today is the day of retribution. You will die today." This was the angel of death coming down to execute me with his word of death and capture my soul. He was shouting and he was about to hit me with his sword when I heard a powerful voice saying 3 times, "Stop." The thunderous voice stopped this angel from hitting me. When I lifted my hand in order to look at the source of the light, I saw a huge hand. The hand entered the pit where I was. I could hear the thunderous voice of the Lord addressing this angel. The Lord said, "Because of the covenant I have with his mother, and because you have come to execute him, I command you to bless him." Immediately I saw the angel of death placing his word on my shoulders. He said to me, "I charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who will judge the living and the dead, and in view of his appearing and his kingdom, preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, and encourage with every form of patient instruction. For the time will come when men will not tolerate sound doctrine, but with itching ears they will gather around themselves teachers to suit their own desires." Then the hand of the Lord pulled me out of the pit. This hand reminded me what I saw in the movie King. I wanted to look at the face of the Lord, but there was so much light that I could not. He was dressed in clothes of white line, bright and pure. There were golden ring of his hand and feet. There was a bright and intense light emanating from his face. The Lord said, "You cannot watch my face, but you will know more about me in the scripture."